This video is to show you how to make an education plan using assist.org and CalGETSI. For this example, we are going to use the major of electrical engineering with the goal of transferring to Cal Poly Pomona. Step 1, look up your major courses on assist.org. Start by going to assist.org. Then choose Mount SAC. And then choose the school you want to transfer to. For this example, we're going to use Cal Poly Pomona. Then click on View Agreements. Next, you're going to look for your major. Make sure you've selected major and type in your major to look for it. For this example, we're going to use electrical engineering. So now we're looking at the agreement between Mount SAC and Cal Poly Pomona. Now once we scroll down on the left-hand side, you're going to see the major classes that students at Cal Poly Pomona take during their first 2 years if their major is electrical engineering. On the right-hand side, you will see the Mount SAC versions of those classes. Let's keep looking. Now this top section, you want to read this. It gives you a bunch of information about transferring to Cal Poly Pomona and what they are looking for. Make sure if you see additional criteria, you read it carefully. This shows that this is an impacted major, and if you read below, it will give you information about what that means. Now, luckily, Mount SAC is part of the local area for Cal Poly Pomona, so you will have priority for local admissions. It also shows that there's going to be supplemental requirements. So here we can see the supplemental coursework that's required. MAT 1140 and 1150, and then physics 1510 and 1520, both of those with labs. So as we scroll down to look at the classes, we're going to look for these 4 classes that are required for admission for this major because it is an impacted major with supplemental coursework. Scroll down, there's information about general ed. We recommend CalGETSI. Now we're going to read carefully. On the left-hand side, it says select A or B. So these are the Cal Poly classes. On the right-hand side are the Mount SAC classes. So you need Chem 55 or Chem 50 or Chem 50 honors. Just one class for that area. As I go, I'm going to write down the major classes. So in this area, I'm just going to pick Chem 55 since I only need one of these classes. In area 2, we have one class that will count. Where you see it says no comparable class, you are going to take those after you transfer. Here's 2 more classes you can take while you're at Mount SAC. Oh, and now you notice these are the 2 absolutely required classes. So you want to take as many of these courses on Assist as you can, but these 2 are 2 of the required ones. I'm going to put these in green on my list of major courses so I can remember that these are absolutely required before transfer. I'll add Math 280 to the list and Engineering 285. And now here again are the 2 physics classes that are absolutely required, so we'll add those in green. And that's it. Now we're at the end of the agreement. So the next step is to look up the prerequisites and co-requisites in the Mount SAC catalog. So now I have the list of major classes that I made while I was looking at Assist on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have the Mount SAC catalog. I'm going to go ahead and click on the A to Z index to look at courses. So we're looking for prerequisites and co-requisites. We'll start with chemistry. The prerequisite for Chem 55 is Chem 40. If you have taken it in high school, a year of high school chemistry with a B or better, you can request to waive this prerequisite. The other prerequisite is eligibility for intermediate algebra or higher. all students at Mount SAC automatically place into college level math, so you don't have to worry about that prerequisite, just the Chem 40. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the prerequisite, which is Chem 40. I'm going to do this for all prerequisites and co-requisites. If a class doesn't have a prerequisite or co-requisite, I'll just write NA for not applicable. To save time, I'm going to zoom ahead. Once you finish writing down all the prerequisites and co-requisites, take note of any of those courses that aren't already on your major list. So in this case, the student will need Chem 40 and Physics 2AG in addition to their major classes so that they'll meet all the prerequisites. This student placed in Math 180 on the AQ, so they don't have to worry about lower level math requirements like Math 160. Our next step is to look up the general education classes based on the CalGETC. So here on the left-hand side, you can see I made a list of the different areas of CalGETC. And because this student is already planning to take Math 180 and Chem 55, because those are major classes that can double count for general ed courses, I went ahead and filled those in ahead of time. Also, English, critical thinking, communication, and math are required for admission. So that's why they're in green, just to remind me that those classes are vital. Now we're going to go through each area of CalGETC and pick out a class to take. We'll write them down on the grid on the left-hand side so that we'll be ready to make an ed plan when we're done. You can see the instructions are at the top. Area 1, English Communication. Choose one course from each group. Group A, English Communication. Group B, Critical Thinking and Composition. And Group C, Oral Communication. So now that I've picked out my classes, I'm going to write them on my chart. Next, we have Area 2, choose one course. We already have Math 180, so we're good for Area 2. And it's already on the chart. Next, we have Area 3, Arts and Humanities. We're going to choose one class from the Arts courses and one class from the Humanities courses, and then we will write them on our chart. Okay, now this is Area 4, Social and Behavioral Sciences. Choose two courses from two different subject areas. Courses may not be double counted to satisfy more than one area of general ed. So for example, History 36, Women in American History, that counts under Area 3 and it counts under Area 4, but I have to choose where I'm going to use it. I can't use one class for both areas. So I'll make sure to take two additional courses here. Okay, now we are at Area 5, Physical and Biological Sciences. Choose two courses, one physical science and one biological science. At least one must include lab. Lab must be in a corresponding section. Lab courses have a plus sign. So we already have our physical science with lab, Chem 55. We also have lots of physics. So let's go with Anth 1 for a 3-unit biology without lab. Now we're in our last section, Area 6, Ethnic Studies. Choose one course. Now that the CalGETC is done, they are showing us this optional requirement we can meet. This is not a GE requirement, it's a graduation requirement for Cal States. They want you to take either History 7 and History 8, or one of these U.S. histories and one of these poli-sci classes. Now, luckily, History 36, which we used for Area 3, meets one of these requirements, and poli-sci, C1000, meets the other requirement, and it satisfies Area 4. Now, all of these U.S. histories are both in Area 3 and Area 4, and all the political science classes are in Area 4. So when you're picking out your general eds for those areas, consider taking a class that will also count for this graduation requirement. It is allowed to double count in this area only. Okay, now that we've selected all our courses for general education and for the major, we are ready for the next step, which is to make our education plan. Log on to the portal, click on the search, type in MAP for Mountie Academic Plan. Click on Get Started Now. It will start you out on worksheets, so you want to click on Plans on the menu at the top of the screen. Click on New Plan, then click on Blank Plan. Find your first semester. I recommend starting with your current semester. Now write a description for your plan. You're going to click on Add Term, and you're going to add a whole bunch of semesters. I like to start with about 8. I'm going to fast forward ahead so this doesn't take too long for you to watch. Now you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, I have the classes that I selected earlier ready to go. So now we can start adding in the classes. Click in this box to search by the course title. Use the 4-letter or 3-letter prefix for the class. And then below you'll see all the options. Next, click on your class and drag it into the semester. Next, we are going to put in the classes that are required for transfer. Because several math and physics courses are required for this major, I want to start by putting those in. So again, click on Math. You might need to go to a different page. Sometimes there's a lot of courses in a subject. Find it, drag it, and drop it into the semester. So I went ahead and I added Math 180 and the helper class Math 18. These helper classes for math can be a great option if you want more support. So I'm going to keep on going with Math 181, and I'm doing it all now so that I have them in order. Remember, I had to look up all those prerequisites. We'll add Math 280. Next, I'm going to put in the physics courses because physics also has a lot of prerequisites. Remember, Physics 2AG is a prereq for Physics 4A, so even though it was not on assist, I'm adding it to the plan. This gets us ready to add the next 2 physics classes, 4A and 4B. Now those 2 physics classes also have a couple of co-requisites that can be taken ahead of time. You can see we already have those on the plan, so those will be done before we schedule the physics 4A and 4B. So let's move forward. After we get these physics courses in the plan, we will have all the major requirements that are required for entrance into Cal Poly Pomona. So next, we're going to look at the Golden 4, English, Critical Thinking, Communication, and Math. We know that these are also required to get into a Cal State. There's English, critical thinking, communication, and math is already in there. Now let's take a minute and review what is actually required for transfer. You need the Golden 4 with a C or better, English, critical thinking, communication, and math. You need 60 transferable units, a 2.0 GPA or higher, and 30 units from CalGETC. Now, if your major is impacted, like this one is, you also will need to take the required courses in your major for transfer. Not all impacted majors have required courses, but this one does. Okay, we have all of the required classes on the plan. Now we're going to go back to the major classes and fill in with the major classes and the prerequisites for the major classes. I'll start with Chem, and you'll remember I need Chem 40 before I can take Chem 55. And then we'll put in the engineering classes, carefully making sure that you're putting them in the right semester for their prereqs and co-reqs to be met. All right, now I'm going to add in the remaining general ed courses: music, psychology, political science. I'll add more semesters: ethnic studies, women in U.S. history, anthropology. So now all the classes are on the plan, all the CalGETC classes, all the major classes. The next thing I'll do is I'll look at each semester to make sure it looks like I have a balance of rigor. I don't want to have too many units in one semester and not enough in another. I can also decide to take some of these classes off the ed plan and plan for the student to take them after they transfer to Cal Poly Pomona. Now, to check my work, I'm going to use a degree audit. It will show me at least the general ed. Okay, so here you can see the list of the required areas for CalGETC, and you can see the courses I put on the plan and when those courses will be taken. You can see here's Group A, English C1000. It's on the plan, and it's going to be taken in spring 2027. So you want to check and make sure all of those little bubbles are either green, meaning you met the requirement, or blue, meaning it is on the plan. If something is red, it means you need to change something and check your work. And of course, that's only if it's important to you to finish CalGETC and be CalGETC certified when you go to the Cal State. It is not a requirement for admission, but it is a really, really good idea to have your general ed complete if possible. Since this is not a transfer degree, all we can use the audit for is to check general ed. You'll need to check the major classes by hand just to make sure you got them all in there. Next up, we're going to download the ed plan and submit it as homework. Let's edit the description so it says STEP. Hit save. And now we're going to print the plan and save it as a PDF. So here I'm saving it. And now I can upload it to Canvas. I hope this helped.